Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand spanking new video. This video, the air fryer is preheated. Massive thank you to BBC Sounds for sponsoring a portion of this video. There's a link in the description box where you can learn all about BBC Sounds and I'll talk about it later. For this video, we are going to be looking at 4 different breakfasts from around the world. Now, for these recipes, I always try and research different recipes and try and kind of get an overall consensus of normally what is done. It might not be exactly how the location makes the breakfast because obviously I've tried to research around, but it probably might not be 100% authentic, but I try my best and I do a lot of research for it. But let's get on with today's first recipe. So for the first recipe, we are going to be making something from Denmark. Now this looks really interesting to me. So what you do is, I'm going to put the name of it on screen because I feel like I will butcher the pronunciation, and it actually is Denmark's version of sour milk, but obviously in England you can't get sour milk, so they say in the recipe to use natural yogurt, and you make like a crunchy crispy topping out of rye bread, which you pulsate in the food process, which I'm going to do now. I just feel like it's a great idea. So crikey, that really blitzed through that, didn't it? Gradually add the sugar until it resembles soil. I'd say that's pretty soily, and now I'm going to go in with my brown sugar. Now apparently the key is to not add too much brown sugar because then it becomes too sweet, and apparently you don't want it to be too sweet. It's quite nice when it has the flavour of like the rye bread in it. I'm just going to mix in my brown sugar because I'm actually petrified of the NutriBullet right now. Because did you hear that? It was sounded like a flipping volcano or something. Okay, this smell really reminds me of something. Bread, I guess. No, but it actually reminds me of something else. Anyway, but apparently you have to watch it very closely in the last 5 minutes because apparently it turns at the blink of an eye. So there's my soil, which I'm now going to put in the oven to get it all nice and brown. Whilst it's in the oven, I'm actually going to assemble the main part, which is just the yogurt and the berries. But obviously this should be the yume, I think it's pronounced, I'm not entirely sure, which is the sour milk. But as I mentioned, unfortunately, we don't have that in England. I feel like what would be such a fun idea is in London if they did like an around the world restaurant, and each week or each day they did a different country. So you never get the same thing when you go there, and it can be like a chef from that country. Oh my gosh, this idea, I feel like I shouldn't be telling you because I feel like someone's going to take it. And then you can have like breakfast from around. Wouldn't that be so fun? I've learned so many yummy recipes every time I do this video. And I'm so up for learning more. It's like a double straw. Oh my gosh, do you think they've gotten married? Do you think they're a little couple? Let's go to the chapel. Okay, this is out, and some of it is caught even though I keep giving it a stir, and some of it just isn't going as brown. Yeah, I feel like it kind of just smells like toast, and toast is always a good thing. It's time to assemble our gorgeous little breakfast from Denmark. I don't know how much to put on there. I think it's just kind of like you would a granola, it's just a sprinkling. I feel like this is reminding me of something and I can't put my finger on it. Here is the Denmark breakfast. I do like textures, and we've got the crunchy breadcrumbs, the squidgy strawberry, and then the smooth yogurt, so I'm thinking this could be a winner. That's kind of fun. Do you know why? Obviously I love toast, and I find toast a very comforting food. You know, when you just think of like a cold winter morning and everyone is having breakfast and we're all having a little toast in the morning before you go to school, it kind of tastes like that. And I can imagine like in Denmark it being really cold and they have this like comforting flavour. Or I suppose this is more of a summer one because it's got the yogurt and the berries and it's quite refreshing. Yet it's also cozy and comforting at the same time. I like this. I've been very confident about these breakfasts after that. I had no idea of whether I would like that or not, and I have been thoroughly given a big fat thumbs up from that. Now we're going to be going to the Philippines. Now we all know I love food from the Philippines. I don't know if it's because my dad lived there for quite a while and he always would talk about it, and you know when you just associate something with someone else's memories, so then you become a bit attached to it. We are going to be making this chocolate rice pudding. Washed and drained our sweet rice, and then you add some water to it. Cook and wait for it to boil. When you make this, you need to have some hot water. We've got cocoa powder, sugar, a pinch of salt, and 3, 2, 1. Ugh, dang it. Whilst I make this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about BBC Sounds. So So you guys know I love to cook, and I'm cooking all the time. And when I'm cooking, sometimes I just like to have something on in the background, like something that just makes me feel warm and cozy. And something that I've been listening to at the moment is from BBC Sounds, which you can download and listen to anywhere. And on BBC Sounds, I really like the Teach Me a Lesson podcast by Greg James. And we all know, I'm a bit of a Greg James fangirl. I think he's so funny. He's great on BBC Radio 1 Breakfast, and it's with his wife, Bella Mackey. Each episode, they get someone on who's an expert in a certain field. And the recent one that I listened to that I really liked was with Nadia from The Bake Off, which is like, could this get any more gross? Bake Off, Greg James, BBC Sounds podcast, which I can just listen to when I'm baking. So it's like I was baking as I was listening to Nadia. It was a fantastic, fantastic one. It's just so funny and light, but then also you're getting to learn stuff. They do actually have some more serious themes in some of the podcasts from one of the ones I listened to before. So if you like something that's light, but also makes you feel cozy and it's quite funny, honestly, the dynamic of Greg James and Bella are so funny together. They're so funny and it's really good. You can download the BBC Sounds app and download different episodes. So say you're going on the tube and you're underground, you can still listen to it because you've downloaded it. You don't need to have the internet. So you can literally listen to it anywhere, anytime. Whilst you're getting on with some cleaning, whilst you're pottering around baking, whatever you do. I really recommend it, and it's going to be linked in the description box below. Please go and check it out, because I know that if you like my videos, you'll probably like the podcast, because it's kind of like the same vibes, do you know what I mean? But it's really, really funny and always a giggle. Thanks so much BBC Sounds for sponsoring that portion of the video. So I've been mixing my little cocoa powder mixture right here, and I can actually hear, in the time that it's taken me to talk to you about BBC Sounds, my water is boiling. Can you hear it? Okay, it is bubbling away and we don't want the rice to stick. I'm just going to pour this mixture in. It's got a few lumps, but hey, I feel like all humans are a little bit lumpy, aren't we? We're all a little bit lumpy, and that's what makes us brilliant. So I'm just going to stir that in for 15 minutes. It's very, very steamy, but here is the chocolate rice pudding. I really hope I've done this right and it looks exactly as it should on the tin. And then you take your evaporated milk and you swirl it all on the top like that. Oh, it doesn't look like it does in the picture. It really doesn't look right. But there we go, there is our chocolate rice pudding from the Philippines. It's kind of good because the chocolate on the top has like merged with the evaporated milk, and it makes it all look really good. I just love watching the evaporated milk swirl into the chocolate rice pudding. It's really quite mesmerising actually. Stir in the evaporated milk to make it even more sweet and unctuous. Oh my gosh, it smells good. It smells like a chocolate cake. Now obviously I'm not the biggest rice pudding fan, so texturally it's not my favourite thing ever, but flavour wise and appearance wise and everything else, I can truly imagine this being a wonderful dessert. It literally tastes like a pudding, but I suppose it does have pudding in the name. This is really good. I know that my family are going to love this because they love rice pudding. It's not my favourite breakfast I've ever had, but I can really understand why someone would appreciate it. Obviously if you're not a rice pudding fan, you won't like it. But if you like porridge, if you like rice pudding, if you like any of that sort of squodgy textured things, then you will love this. Next up, what we're going to be doing is making Turkish menemen, but this recipe is apparently an easy version, like a 1-pan breakfast. But I don't know if it's always easy or if this is just specifically an easy recipe. It kind of looks a little bit shakshuka-esque, but it has scrambled eggs in it, which could be good because I know sometimes when people make shakshuka, they have a bit of a trouble trying to get the eggs to cook perfectly because obviously they're whole. Whereas this has scrambled egg in it, which I feel like makes it a little bit easier to make sure that you're going to get it absolutely stonking spot on. So we need to chop up 1 green pepper, which I feel like is a little bit rogue because whoever wants green pepper? I feel like normally people want red pepper, orange pepper. I'm really surprised that this specifically requests the green pepper. This recipe looks delicious and it has 5 stars, and I always look for 5 stars in my recipe. I have to go in with the onion. You know what I want to do with this? You know the football trick where you do that and then you roll it around and go bop bop? I wish I could do that with an onion. If someone can do that with an onion, I feel like that's a really fun party trick. I cannot do it, wait. My peppers and onions are chopped and I'm just going to put them into the pan now. Okay, so now we have fried off our onions and our peppers, again a little bit burnt. I'm going in with the tomatoes. You want to cook those off for 7 minutes until they kind of start to squidge down. Now the recipe said you can cut them in half or not, so I've kind of done a mixture of some cut and some not. Just so, you know, variety is the spice of life, isn't it? So might as well. As you can see, the tomatoes are all sweet and sticky. And now we crack in 3 eggs and scramble them straight into the pan. And they did say that you can scramble them before you put them in the pan, but I feel like if they give that as an alternative option, I don't know why, but I feel like I should do the first option that they suggest. So I'm doing the first option. So the 3 eggs going in there, and then I'm just gonna scramble it in. This smells amazing. If smell-o-vision was a thing, I would love for you to smell this. And then it says to actually put your cheese on top. Now I'm going for mozzarella, but it has lots of different options, so I'm just crumbling the mozzarella because I like mozzarella with the tomatoes because it kind of then tastes a bit like a pizza. And then we want to also sprinkle in some parsley on top, and it says until the eggs are just barely set. One little swoop around. The eggs are just barely set as it says, and I'm just going to take some of this and dish it up. And it actually says you can have it with some bread or have it with whatever feels right. There is our recipe from Turkey. This looks so good. Maybe it's because I just had sweet, and you know when you want a little bit of like a savoury after you've just had sweet. Look at that mozzarella, so stringy. I feel like I should try it. I was going to put it on my bread, but I feel like I should just try it first. I've had a bit of salt and pepper as well. That is so good. That is so flavourful. I think because of the sweet tomatoes, you let them kind of cook out and let their juices get going. And then you have the cheese and the parsley, and then, oh goodness, that is scrumdiddly-umptious. I definitely prefer that to shakshuka. That's my favourite one from today so far. Now the last recipe we're going to do is an authentic Swiss birch muesli. Now, I love the sass in the title of this recipe because it says the original overnight oats. Like, all of you who have been doing overnight oats, you don't even know what you're talking about if you've never tried this birch muesli. And it actually does look a lot different from all the recipes that I've tried of birch muesli before. Now, obviously, I'm not a big overnight oats girl, if you hadn't gathered from this video already, but I feel like I should give an authentic recipe a go, because a lot of the ones I've tried have loads of different ingredients, whereas this is so simple and it's really stripped back. So I feel like I need to give it a go and see how it fares. And I feel weirdly confident about it. I feel like because it's just so simple and stripped back that it's going to be a good time. So first of all, we're adding a half cup of oats into our little bowl. We're going in with 2 tablespoons of raisins, which when we add the liquid they'll go all nice and plump, with 2 tablespoons of yogurt. And then it just says half an apple, and obviously I'm not going to just like put a whole apple in there, so I assume they want it grated. Now the key to this, they said, is you must leave it overnight, or at least for a few hours, because that's how it gets all delicious and like goes all squidgy. Now the next step that we're going for is we are adding apple juice, and then you just give that a mix. Oh, key ingredient, cinnamon. This is very much needed. And see, there's not loads of other stuff in it. All these other birch mueslis have like, and then you need to milk a cow found in the forest, and then you need to add a little bit of these seeds which I plucked from a tree in Zimbabwe. And it's like, no, we just want something simple, quick and easy. And then you just put that in the fridge overnight. Now there was going to be one other recipe so excited to try, and it's this, which is kinafah from Lebanon, but I could not find in any of the supermarkets semolina. They'd sold out in all the supermarkets, which I find really bizarre. I don't know why they'd sold out. So I might have to do another one of these videos, and if I do another one of these videos, please comment down below any recipe ideas that you have, or if you're from another country, let me know of a delicious breakfast. Now, seeing as we can't try that recipe, I'm not actually going to try a recipe from around the world, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a little breakfast hack that I've seen lately, which is where you take cinnamon swirls and double cream, and you add the cinnamon rolls to your like baking tin, and then you pour the double cream over it, and apparently by doing that it makes them so soft. This is what they look like. You don't want to fully get them in there, as in you don't want them to be so deep in the cream because otherwise they'll never cook, but you want them to have at least be like coated in them, you know, saturated. And you just pop them in the oven. whilst I wait for the cinnamon rolls in the oven and whilst I clean up all of this detritus, it's time to listen to BBC Sounds podcast. Because then you don't have to, you know, if you're watching a show, sometimes you like try and rubberneck it and try and look at it. Whereas when it's a podcast, you don't have to do that. They look so different from the normal ones. They're like caramelised on top. I mean, they are a bit darker than I would have liked, but I did forget about them. Right, here is the Bircher muesli. As you can see, it's gone quite thick and it's absorbed all of that lovely flavour. Let's see if it can convince. You know what, that's not bad. I mean, I won't be running back because we all know how I feel about porridge. But the actual flavour of this is amazing. I think using the apple juice instead of using milk and then using the yoghurt to like thicken it up works really well. I'll leave the link to this recipe down below because it's actually quite good. It feels quite hearty. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for BBC Sounds for partnering with me on the video. There's a link in the description to Teach Me a Lesson with Greg James and Bella Mackie. I really recommend it. Hope you will have a wonderful rest of your day. Love you all loads. Bye!